Hey there, welcome to Monday Night Poetry. So tonight I want to read a couple poems by Elizabeth Bishop from her book, Geography 3. A little bit about her. She's an American poet born in Worcester, Massachusetts in 1911. She grew up between Worcester, Massachusetts and Nova Scotia. As an adult, she traveled widely, living for years in France and then Brazil before returning to the United States. Her work has been awarded the Pulitzer Prize, the National Book Award, and the National Book Critics Circle Award. Her work, she was a known but obscure poet for most of her life, or literary figure for most of her life. She really didn't get recognition until after her death in 1979. So that's when the New York Times wrote a bit about her, and she got a little bit more notoriety. So I'm just going to read a couple of poems, if you'll allow it. So the first poem I want to read is called Night City. Okay, so Night City. No foot could endure it. Shoes are too thin, broken glass, broken bottles, heaps of them burn. Over those fires, no one could walk, those flaring acids and variegated bloods. The city burns tears, a gathered lake of aquamarine begins to smoke. The city burns guilt, for guilt's disposal, the central heat must be this intense. Diaphanous lymph, bright turgid blood, spatter outward in clots of gold. To where run, molten, in the dark environs, green and luminous, silicate rivers, a pool of bitumen, one tycoon wept by himself, a blackened moon, another cried, a skyscraper up, look, incandescent, its wires drip. The conflagration fights for air. In a dread vacuum, the sky is dead. Still, there are creatures, careful ones, overhead. They set down their feet, they walk, green, red, green, red. And the last poem I want to read is called The End of March. It was cold and windy, scarcely the day to take a walk on that long beach. Everything was withdrawn as far as possible. Indrawn, the tide far out, the ocean shrunken, seabirds in ones or twos, the rackety ice, offshore wind, numbed our faces. On one side, disrupted the formation of a lone flight of Canada geese, and blew back the low, inaudible rollers in upright, steely mist. The sky was darker than the water. It was the color of mutton fat, jade. Along the wet sand, in rubber boots, we followed a track of big dog prints, so big they were more like lion prints. Then we came on the lengths and lengths endless of wet white string, looping up to the tide line, down to the water, over and over. Finally, they did end. A thick white snarl, man-size, awash, rising on every wave, a sodden ghost, falling back, sodden, giving up the ghost, a kite string, but no kite. I wanted to get as far as my proto-dream house, my crypto-dream house, that crooked box set up on pilings, shingled green, of sort of artichoke of a house, but greener, boiled with bicarbonate of soda, protected from spring tides by a palisade of, are they railroad ties? Many things about this place are dubious. I'd like to retire there and do nothing, or nothing much, forever, in 2 bare rooms, look through the binoculars, read boring books, old, long, long books, and write down useless notes, talk to myself and foggy days, watch the droplets slipping heavy with light at night. A grog à l'américaine. I'd blaze it with a kitchen match, and lovely diaphanous blue flame would waver, doubled in the window. There must be a stove. There is a chimney, askew but braced with wires, and electricity, possibly, at least, at the back, another wire, limply leashes the whole affair. To something off behind the dunes, a light to read by, perfect, but impossible, and that day the wind was much too cold. even to get that far. And of course, the house was boarded up. On the way back, our faces froze on the other side. The sun came out for just a minute, set in their bezels of sand. The drab, damp, scattered stones were multicolored, and all those high enough threw out long shadows, individual shadows, then pulled them in again. They could have been teasing the lion's son, except that now he was behind them. A son who'd walked the beach, the last low tide, making those big, majestic paw prints, who perhaps had batted a kite out of the sky to play with. And that's a couple poems by Elizabeth Bishop from her book Geography. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks so much.